It was the 4th of January, and everyone should have received it. And I do have a question for y'all before I go on. I know that I email it to you, and I know that my reports are lengthy. So, this is my question. Do you want me to continue to email you the reports ahead of time, or would you prefer that they just go in your mailbox and you pick them up at the night of the meeting?
Mailbox, because it's easier for me to look at the charts with the calls and such.
Okay,
It's much easier for me on paper.
I second that motion.
So,
mailbox,
how much before the meeting?
Well, that would be my only question, is if we get a little bit before, cause sometimes just getting here to come and get it, to take a look at it, that's why email is a little more convenient for me, but I'm more than willing to pick it up in my mailbox, as long as we have a little bit, not just the night of the meeting or,
Oh.
you know, the day before.
yeah, I would never dump that on you the night of the meeting.
That would be my only.
So if you were to get it like 5 or 6 days ahead of time, and if I were to email you that the report is ready in your box, would that work for you guys?
Perfect.
Okay, then how about we do that then?
Thank you, Chief.
No problem, I kinda know that ink is expensive.
Well, I do look at it online, but it is, for me, much harder to manipulate
Would it,
the.
would it be that much, would it be, is it that much to just email it also, just in case?
Sure, I can
I mean,
do
that
that.
doesn't cost anything for
Right,
that.
the attachment. It's here and it's here,
Right.
Right.
That way
yes.
you use it as.
Good suggestion.
In case
Okay.
you're not able to make it.
So
in.
email.
Agreed. Thanks for making
And
that
mailbox.
suggestion too.
And then the ones that I put in your mailbox, it'll be copied on both sides, alright?
Thank you.
Okay,
I'm liking yours.
Okay, I'll do it.
alright. So in regards to the police report that I emailed you and the information that comes with it, the confidential information, do you have any questions in regards to the police report? If not, then may I please move on to the part about the questions that were asked about the squad? Okay, good. I know that each of you also received my email in regards to the question that was posed in regards to the pros and cons of delaying the purchase of a squad for 1 year. So I broke down in summary of what I had explained the last time we met in December. And then I went into it a little bit deeper, and after looking at the big picture of everything and what everyone brought up on the board and what we discussed in the past, I feel that we do not have to purchase a new squad for this year. I can live with that. And I can live with that because of the fact that our fleet is newer. And for that reason, I would recommend that we don't purchase a new squad this year. However, it's imperative, it's really imperative that we plan on ordering a new squad this year for it to arrive next year. Because with the opportunity to buy new vehicles right now, whether it's for ourselves in the civilian world or for the police world, it's kind of tough. And when I go to the Chiefs conference in a few more weeks, I'm going to be talking with the Ford dealer and trying to get him or her, it depends if they've changed salespeople, and see if I can get them committed to allowing us to order a squad. Now, before I do that, I would like to know if the board still feels comfortable with me putting in an order this year with the purchase for next year, so that I can give them my word that I'm gonna do that.
Well, I know at the fire district that's something that we make a habit of doing, is buying it in advance so that we can let the municipalities know that that's being purchased, but we also lock in a better price because the price might go up, but we've been able to lock in better prices on equipment by committing to a purchase.
That's,
So,
That's correct, and that's how I've done it since I came here, since 2017.
And due to the environment of how it is to buy a new car, you may have to wait that order in June anyway to get it for next January or February.
Yeah.
That's
You
correct,
might
and
need to do it now.
I totally agree with you, sir, and that's why I feel that when I talked to this person in February, we can get this nailed down. You know, he or she may say, hey, chief, you gotta put your order in now.
Well, the one thing I know with our discussion, and I'm not always good at communicating or being clear on what I was saying, is one of my concerns or one of my questions, and I was trying to get some answers for, was, do we even need 4 squads? Was one of the big questions of cost and things of that nature, you know, instead of having it for in case, training, and that was one of my biggest questions, you know, and having insuring another squad, and, you know, we're getting another new one. You know, we're typically, from what I'm understood from the last time, it's typically there's two people on or and/or for shifts. Sometimes it's an overlap, but that's not all the time. We would still have a 3rd squad as a backup and/or for the boat. If guys in doing training and such, and again, I'd like everything to be brand new, but the other thought was, you know, we can pay mileage for any sort of training at 58, whatever, you know, that was one of my big questions. You know, we're insuring a 4th vehicle, I don't know what those numbers are, but that was one of my main questions of doing it. Like I said, I'd like everything to be brand new and have as much as we want, but I just really wanna make sure if we're gonna spend money, because we know that it's not a cheap date, that it's really something we truly do need and we couldn't get away without having, you know? Cause I know in the past we've only had 3. So that was my big question about the whole situation.
In the past, we only had 3, but we only had 2 vehicles that were outfitted for patrol.
Right, we have 3 that are outfitted for patrol run, from my understanding, right? And then
No,
another
we
one
don't.
that doesn't, yeah. So we can still have 3 outfitted for patrol. And just have 3 vehicles, and that might be sufficient for our department, or it's not.
I would feel uncomfortable doing that. And John, feel free to jump in here.
Yeah, I think again, you run into, when we have 2 working in boat patrol, and 1 car is down for an extended period of time.
Sure.
You know, last year we had 2 down, 1 with
The deer.
a mechanical failure, then a deer.
The deer, sure.
But like, if you have boat patrol, you run into some liability if a call comes in. Responding to the boat launch, not able to respond to emergent.
You're saying like, from the boat launch to the
Yeah,
call.
they're at a meeting getting ready, they just have their personal car, and with drowning, you can't respond to your personal vehicle at, you know, emergent speeds.
To, like you're saying, like if nobody was on the lake, but you
Right,
needed to
yeah,
go to
shift
the boat and with an issue or a
We
situation
have
on the
at
lake.
least, you know, 1 shift change generally during the day. Like I said, I think 4 is keeping vehicles longer when there is issues. If the supervisor needs to come in for a fail, which I have the last 2 fails, if we have 2 on and a car down, yeah, I'm going in my personal vehicle, which is fine. It's running into some liability issues there too. I came in this summer for, you know, a standoff with weapons involved. If you don't have that extra car, you have a car down. We've also been working grants for traffic grants, in which we get reimbursed through the state. So it's not overtime out of our budget. And when we have that, we often have, if we have 2 on, we might have a 3rd car on. So then, again, we're running into, if somebody's at training, or a car's down, or boat patrol, you have people in limbo. For field training, part of the end of field training is the shadow phase, where I shadow somebody around, or another field training officer. And again, if you have a car down, you have another person working, or coming in to meet us somewhere, I can't shadow properly. I found it useful to have the 4 cars. I think we use it enough, especially during the summer and during training.
To justify whatever 70 grand, I mean, I don't even know what the numbers are, 70 grand plus insuring, you know, I don't know what monthly insurance is, I don't know.
And our oldest,
I don't know what those numbers are.
yeah, if we sell that next year,
Less
we
than,
sell that one car, and then the oldest goes to being that kind of spare for trainings and boat patrol and when the car is down. I don't know if we got into the, where we got so many, we got 2 new cars last year because of the accidents.
Sure, yeah,
I
that
think
was,
kinda,
yeah, you couldn't predict that, I mean, that was.
or if we could get on more of a rotation where it's every other year
Mm-hmm,
to save some funds.
mm-hmm,
But I would definitely like to see the 4 cars captain. I asked the guys as well, I know they saw the meeting online that John posted.
mm-hmm.
They thank me for stepping up and saying something along with the chief, if they feel like the 4th car is needed.
It's
They could work-
used, you know, it's used enough, but my question is could we do without it? Like, I'm just asking if it's an absolute necessity, or if it's something that we could do, we could use 3. I mean, if you have 3, you kinda have a spare too, you know? I mean, trust me, I'd like to drive a work vehicle to any training I do and like all that, but they just pay me mileage when I go, you know, like certain things like that, but not thinking about the liability end of some of that makes a little more sense to me also, but.
Chad, one of the things that, I don't know if the police department has the same issue that the fire district is, but I know that right now, our ambulance, we need to COVID clean. And if they're carrying somebody with a COVID, it's a 2-hour process, and to have a vehicle down and not have something to go to, it's just something that I've learned that the fire district has to do, and I wonder if the chief or the police department has the same issue.
Right now, we wipe the vehicle out with hand wipes.
Mm-hmm.
There are things that you can purchase to put your car in fogging, but I haven't even researched that, because I know it's a very, very
Yeah.
expensive piece of equipment.
Well, we have a procedure where it's a 2-hour process to go through and sanitize the vehicle, and so to be down, we have often needed a 3rd ambulance, which is something I'm gonna talk about, but, you know.
And then you'd use mutual aid, or you'd use assistance from other townships or villages.
Unfortunately, everybody right now is in a lack of personnel phase, so,
Sure, no, I'm just saying, that's
Yeah,
what
I-
maintenance, that's what backup's for, I mean,
yeah.
in those certain situations where if you do come across something, but.
Alright, I see like, this is like a three-part question. First part, was whether to go forward with the normal bump down, that, you know, get rid of the oldest one, buy the new one. And the chief just mentioned that due to the fact that we have replaced the one with the deer hit that were newer, so we could get by, so I think that question's answered, no, we're not gonna get a new one this year, that's the first question. Second question is the one that you brought up again about the, you know, do we need the 4th vehicle? And I think the questions or the information that was brought up on why has been repeated, and it's also documented, as far as why. A lot of it's liability, the other part of it is if you do have a vehicle that's down, and of course, if you start getting into the older vehicles, that's gonna happen more, that feeds the first question. That, you know, a spare, you're not out of business, you keep on running. And then the third part of the question is, as the chief itemized that, his last memo was that if we don't buy it, and we already budgeted this, the budget's there, we don't have to spend it, we said we're not, you know, if we don't have to, we're not going to. But there was a question for 18,000 upgrade of existing equipment, basically, that's kind of the third question, and to me, that question's answered, cause it's in the budget, okay? I don't wanna get into micromanaging what you're doing for updating your equipment, especially if it's within your budget. If it's outside your budget, you gotta come to the board and ask to have that changed, and that's hard, cause then you have to reappropriate from other, you know, parts of the budget. So it's really three questions here.
Right, and let it be known, just asking questions, I'm not micromanaging anybody, I'm just asking the questions that I need to do my part.
Right.
That's the only thing I'm
Yeah,
doing.
because I think in the budgeting process, when we talked, it was pretty quick about the new squad, and then we asked, you know, are we actually approving that now? And we said, well, when we go to borrow funds, then we would dig into more details.
And-
Yeah,
and
and
pull
if
trigger.
we don't, if we're not buying a $50,000 squad or whatever the cost is, we're not buying that, we would borrow it. But
Right.
if the police department needs $15,000 in upgraded other equipment in other areas, we would borrow that 15 instead of the 50.
Right.
So, one thing I wanted to say about ordering for 2023, it's imperative from a budgeting and auditing standpoint that that vehicle then is not delivered till 2023. We cannot
Absolutely.
receive it in 2022.
Right, just like I've done in the past, I would have them deliver it in January or February of the following year.
Yeah,
That's how I've always done
Yeah,
it.
that's imperative.
Well, and I guess that was kind of a question too, if we're making a commitment, we do not have to cover that in this year budget.
Correct.
Correct.
Okay, and then as far as the fourth vehicle, that was, one of the questions I asked in the follow-up was, like, how many miles were put on that fourth vehicle in 2021? And it looks like about 1,500, so it's over 100 miles a month.
In 2021, but in previous years, it was a lot more. Yeah, in the previous years, can I fill that in? Okay, thank you. In the 48 months that we've owned Squad 18, we've averaged 1,878.57 miles per month in the 48 months. However, just like you had brought up, in the since February of last year, we've only put on about 1,500 miles. Yeah, but prior to that, we were putting on more, because it was used for trophies.
Well, this last follow-up request, I'm just reading it kind of now, so I think we can study that part a little bit more. But I think to say what we accomplished for sure is we're kind of agreeing not to do that bump down this year, this calendar year. So that's for sure, right? We're not gonna do it. Right? As far as the upgrades, that's what's needed there, I have no issue with that. But as far as studying the real question about, like say, next year we do buy the new one, whether or not we trade in that oldest one or keep that oldest one, that's still an open question based on all the information that we have here about the study, so to speak, right? So,
We would
Well, if
actually
we didn't
trade that
it
old
in,
one
then we'd
in.
have 5.
well, yeah, we're still gonna get rid of, one regardless, right?
Correct.
So that means we're committing to 4 in 2023 as well.
If you say to order another one.
We
yeah.
trade in and then that other spare, you could sell. That would be the only way we go down the road.
That would be how you.
If you're getting a fourth, you trade the fourth one in to get the new four.
When you're trading one in, you're just
You get another.
maintaining your,
Traded over for
what you have. And I don't believe that the Attorney Mills may know this better than me because he's in the lawyer work. When it comes to liability of a person using their personal car to drive to training or to drive 200 miles to a school and you get in a wreck, our town could be on the hook for that car, which would cost a heck of a lot more.
From an insurance
Ins-
stance, but the town would be on the hook for the deductible of the, like, say I'm going to class, I wreck my car, I have $1,000 deductible, the town's insurance have to pay the $1,000.
$1,000 deductible.
Are we in agreement to decide on a purchase and commit to this? Commit to the new car?
Well, all I need is,
So we can go to February and make the order and knowing that it's in process and then we'll have it delivered January 2023?
Is that your motion, Pete?
I don't know, I'm just kind of trying to put it all together.
write
here.
notes and
I
we'll
mean,
get
that
this
seems
out
like
to
this
people.
extends, he's not getting rid of the old car this year, or this, we're gonna use it. But we're just planning for the future and that car will be putting on some miles, it'll be even older then. And then right then when we really meet, we want it, we have it, and, okay, I don't need to talk no more. So we get a motion? Well, I don't know how to make this motion, I make a motion that we,
Should I say the public comments?
request,
Authorize the chief.
authorize the chief to, purchase on a, new squad. This in February of 2022. With delivery to be made in January of 2023 or in the year of 2023.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Discussion. Again, this has nothing to do with the training stuff. On the motion, all in favor?
Has nothing to do with what?
With the training stuff, that's gonna be another decision, because I don't think we decided that yet.
And then, it doesn't have anything to do with the 18,000 either, you're saying that was already in the budget?
Well,
Or that's gonna take
The
up?
squad was already in the budget, but
Right,
they're saying
Right,
that,
right now.
they're gonna,
trade off some of that expense, so say we've got $75,000 budgeted for a squad. This year, if they don't buy a squad in 2022, they still would like to utilize some of those funds that were budgeted for the squad for other needs.
Understood.
18.
But then have approval to order the squad, which would then have to be budgeted for 2023.
There'll be a budget amendment when the time came for, when we did our loan and stuff like that.
So instead of saying this is for a squad, this is for other expenses.
Okay,
That's the-
all right, then on the motion, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Chad, do the roll call vote, Clarkowski, aye.
Church, I.
raise,
Just one eye.
no, for me,
Wales, no, okay.
only because I have more questions and I don't think I can get them answered. I don't think I can get them answered here, so.
I think when we study what we have here, and if we have more questions, certainly, you know, Chief will answer them, so. Okay, anything else on the police report, Chief, is that it?
So was that that wasn't for the 18 that he's asking for, right? That was
No,
that's
that was to
separate.
That's already
authorize
been
him to purchase.
So the
Order.
order, are we doing that today, so
That's what
that
we
he's
were
asking
doing.
us?
the 18,000 he's already using out of the squad car budget.
Gotcha,
for
okay.
2023.
The 75.
So instead of the 56, it would be 18.
Yep, no, I just wanna make sure that you got what you were asking for.
Okay, thank you. And I have nothing more unless someone has a question. Oh, wait, I have one other item that fill y'all in on. In the hiring process, we did make a conditional offer to a gentleman, as you all know. However, because there's so many people that are quitting in law enforcement or retiring, and there's such an influx of people that are coming in, the person that we use for our psychological evaluation, which you must have by state law, is booked. I could not get our candidate in until January the 17th. So I hope to have an answer after the 17th of this month, within a few days afterwards, to give us a yay or a nay.
Everything else is done?
Everything else I got done, yeah, that's the only thing that's not done.
He didn't accept another position somewhere else in the meantime.
Not that I know of. You gotta convince for
That's where I
that.
thought you were going.
I'd say that.
Yes, no, nothing else that I know of.
Okay.
Thank you for reminding me, I appreciate that. And I have nothing else. Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you, Chief. All right,